Hello and welcome to part 2 of this Fender Showman. So if you remember in part 1 we'd looked at this amp, but we ended up not powering it up because of the state of the capacitors in the doghouse, and we're going to fully service this amplifier. Now, there were some useful comments on the last video, and one of the comments in particular was whether this amp was an export model or not. Well, it is an export model because it's got the voltage selector on the back. Now, if you remember, that had been removed, and I don't know why I never spotted it in the first video, but we've had a bit of an explosion down here, so it looks like that went short. The voltage selector, there was a short on it, and they've obviously removed it. Now, whether that was done in the States or in this country, I presume it was done in the States because we've got a 110 volt lead on it. But there's obviously, if this had a multi-tapping adjustment on here for the various countries, then these wires here, which we looked at, that have been shrink tubed off and tidied away, one of those must be a 240 volt tap. So obviously we're living in the UK, so it would be silly to carry on with the 110 volt tappage. So we're going to look in here and find which one of these is 240 volts, and we're going to connect that up and get this amp running on 240. Now, the other thing that another couple of comments, and although I did point out these tubes, these 6550s that were in it were the wrong tubes and shouldn't be in here, what I didn't point out was, partly because I was just so busy filming this thing and going through everything, the filament voltages. So 4 of these in this amp put an extra 2.4 amps on the filament voltage, so the current, the strain on the transformer. So that was spotted by a couple of people, so thanks for pointing that out. Not that they'd have stayed in anyway, because I've already ordered a batch quad of 606s to go in this amp. So they're obviously, they were coming out anyway. But nonetheless, someone put these in here, not realising that they would draw much more current on the heaters, on the filaments. So that's covered that. So we've got the capacitors here for the doghouse, and so we've got that to look at. This needs to be removed. It was added on probably because the doghouse capacitors were humming, and rather than doing the job properly, they just tacked it on there. I don't know why you would do that, but that's got to go. This has also got to go on the bias. This was tacked on here, this 50 microfarad. Again, I don't know why that would have been tacked on there. And there should be a resistor under there. Oh, it's there, sorry, I can see it. Yeah, that's been changed actually. So anyway, we'll just cut those off. We've got capacitors here for the 22 microfarad for the bypass caps to replace these Mallory's. These are Vichets, and we've got a cap for the bias there. We need to cut the depth cap out, and we'll probably need to rewire this as well. We've got a hot going there. It looks like they're using that lug there on that grand switch. Anyway, we'll sort that out. So yeah, we'll start digging into this then, and let's get it up and running. We've also got to look at the cabinet as well, because the cabinet's got a rattle. We didn't look at that in part 1, but we will be looking at that in a while. Right, I've removed the old bypass caps there, cleaned some of the solder out the holes, so get some fresh solder in there. We'll put the caps in. We've snipped off our additions, both of those are gone as well. So we're going to get these bypass caps in. And we're going to change these capacitors anyway, because they've been in there a long time and the tremolo doesn't work properly. So it's either those or the Roach, Ken Barlow as I call it. William Roach, Ken Barlow, Coronation Street. If you're in the UK you'll know what I mean. Probably don't in the States. Right, I've got the bypass caps in there. Clean around the terminals, but yeah, that bit of flux off there, nothing major. So now we're going to move on to this bias board, and also the diodes for the rectification for the HT voltage B plus is on that board. So we are going to change those as well, because they have been in there a long time. We've got the cap to change there, and we need to measure that resistor, that 470 ohms, just to see if that's in tolerance. We're going to change the diode on the bias as well. Let's snip that death cap out. Let's get rid of that. Don't need him, he's gone. Right, we've got these diodes out, and you can see, I don't know if we can see the corrosion on the end of them there. So yes, they don't look very clever, but they've gone anyway, so it doesn't matter. So we've got the board out to get those. You can see here, I just pan across a bit with the camera. So you can see here I've got the board out. So we're just going to clean that up. Some alcohol, cleaned all the solder out of the holes, and then we'll put the new ones in. And we'll put in, even that diode's corroded on the bias on the end there, so on both ends. So it's certainly time to say goodbye to those. Let's check that resistor, shall we? So he's 500 ohms, should be 470. So he has gone up a little bit. So I think we'll have him changed. He's only gone up 30 ohms, but we'll have him changed because he's on the bias. There's some black paint on those when I actually unsoldered them, and there's still some of it on the board, and it doesn't really want to come off, but never mind. Just don't want it in the solder. So there we go, we've got a bit of alcohol, there's a bit of black paint all around there as well, that black paint we saw on the diodes, and just cleaned it all off. There was a bit of a mess on the bottom as well, so cleaned that, so ready for the new components in there now. So that's all done now. I've just shoved the cap up to 47 microfarads at 100 volts, and I've just been over and tested them all again just after putting the iron on them, just make sure that none of them were faulty, and the heat from the iron is, well, just the diodes, because you just never know. So it's best to just test them again before we put it back in, because this is such a valuable amplifier. But everything's good. We've just got the ground here to go in, but of course it won't reach till we get the board back in, so we'll have to put the board back in first. That's the underneath of the board there as well, so all nice and clean under there. So we need the we just need the fibre board here that I took out to just have a bit of a sweep up in there, so we can pop that back in, and we we'll be good to go. So we'll pop him in there and we'll get the ball back down, and that's another job to cross off the list. Right, I've just had a look at this and I've just cleaned all of that with some alcohol to get the carbon off, and there's been some serious flames going on here by the look of it. So this wire's been changed. You can see that we've got some molten, and I can't get that off. That's I don't know what that is. This I've cleaned all of this. This was all black, still a bit tarnished, but the carbon's off it. That's the main thing. And I've got all the carbon, as I say, off of this. But you can see this wire. Look at this wire as well. This wire's been burnt as well. So that must have been lying up somewhere around there, and that wire's got burnt, so that'll have to be changed. Can't leave that like that. That's going to the switch. So I don't know what's gone on here. Somehow either there's been a fire, this somehow has got up against that and caused a short. You know, there's been a problem with that wire, or eventually it's just burnt. There's been something going on here that's caught fire and it's burnt through that, and well, who knows what's happened. Another thing that was another good comment that was left by Jeff, and I didn't particularly spot it while I was going through this, but the way these grid stoppers on the output tubes have been moved off the actual tube bases and put along here down the side of the transformer, with AC wires going across. And look at this, you know, going. So that's another naughty one, really. So all that's got to come off, as that was a good spot. I'm not saying I would have spotted it obviously when I started working on it, but it was a good spot, that one. It's always good to have people looking over your shoulder, especially when you're filming. So I've got some of this wire here, which is the cloth covered wire. It's a little bit thicker than this, but I think we could put that in. It would be better than that piece. This is also, we've also got yellow and orange. So I think it used to be orange, because it fades over time, and in fact we might just be able to see a little bit going into the transformer. It kind of fades to a dysentery beige. So I think we'll go for the orange rather than the yellow. I still need to put, I've soldered the, just go up to here, I've soldered the ground in here, and I've still got a screw to put in there, because I could have swore blind I put both of those screws in this chassis, but now I can only find one of them. So we'll be on the hunt for that shortly. Right, so I found that screw anyway, so we've got that back together now. So that's all sorted. We've stripped off all of that mess on there. Now I've also noticed on here that pins 1 and pin 8 have been bridged together. And this might explain why they've moved the grid stoppers, which normally use pin 1, onto pin 5 there. Well, of course, a 6550, which is what was in this amplifier, the grid 3 and cathode are internally connected. But I wonder if at some time someone's had EL34s in this, which is why they've had to use pin 1, because that's grid 3 is not internally connected, and it has to be connected externally on an EL34. Grid 3 is pin 1, so I wonder if they've had some EL34s in this at some time. We're outside again, by the way, doing a Shango. So obviously we're going to take those off, and I'm going to put that back to original, how it was, with the 1.5k resistors on there from pin 1 to pin 5. Screen resistors, I'm upping to 1k, And in this bag here I have ordered specifically for this amp some very nice Wellwin 1K resistors, top drawer W22s. So they will be going on there, and they'll even match the wire on the heaters. Right, got all this sorted out now. Got rid of all the mess. Didn't have any 1.5k resistors, couldn't believe it. And I usually order those in bulk. I've just gradually gone through them all. Got no 1.8s either, so we've ended up with 2.2s on it, but it'll be fine with those. Got the 1k screen resistors on there. So we're all looking good in here now. Obviously we've got to wire up the power section, but we need to find which is the tapping on there first. Notice that switch has been replaced as well there. That switch. Disconnected the ground switch altogether, and I've got rid of some of the wires off there. I've used this brown wire on the screens. You can see, perhaps just seeing there, if we go in a bit more, you can see that there this wire is a little bit, it's cloth covered, but it's plastic insulation underneath. It's a little bit, it's thick insulation on this, so it's slightly thicker wire, but it blends in better than using, you know, normal wires, plastic cover wire such as that. That's from the output transformer. So yeah, best we're going to get on that, I'm afraid. The original wires have been removed. Right, time to get these out. Right, let's check these balancing resistors. 272 and 225, so one's not too bad, the other one's terrible, so we can get rid of those. Let's try this drop-in resistor 1k. Is that 1k? Yeah, 1k. That's not too bad. And what's that? 4.7k is 4.66. That's on the money, right on the money, which is surprising. Right, got the caps in, and those two resistors tested spot on, so I've left those in. No point taking those out. Perfectly good resistors. So these are silicon down as well, so they're pretty firm. Put some silicon underneath. So we'll get the lid on and mark those done. Now we've got the tappings on the transformer here, and we need to find out which one is 240, and to do this we're going to measure the resistance of them. Now we already know that black is 110, white is the common, so we already know that black is 110 because obviously that was connected up, and we had an 110 volt cable on this amp. So we've got a bit of a notepad here. In fact, we've got a lot of a notepad here. So we're going to list each wire individually, and we're going to take a reading. Now I'm not an expert on transformers, I leave that to Modulus Amplification, but I do know that the higher the voltage tapping, i.e. 240 being the highest, will have the highest resistance, because that will have the most turns on with the windings. So obviously more turns, more resistance. So we're going to test from common and we are going to test the black wire, and we're going to put it on ohms first, otherwise we won't be testing anything. The times I do that. Actually, I've got a better idea. So if we look at the meter there, you can see we've got, we'll call that 1.62. So we'll write him down. Now we know that's 110 volts because, as I say, we know that was wired up with the amp before. So that's that one sorted out. Right, let's try the green one. Well, it's actually green and black. And the green one is 5 ohms. So we know that's obviously, well, we know they're all going to be higher than 110, aren't they? So that's 5 ohms. Red wire next, that seems to be closest. Now that one is 5.3, we'll call that. So that's the highest so far. Right, who's next? Let's go this way round. What's this one? White, black, we'll have to call that, I think. It's a bit faded, but stick that on there, white, black. And he's 4.35. And that is white, black. So the highest so far is red at 5.3. Let's carry on going round. Let's go for the brown wire. And he's for 4 ohms for the brown. And how many is that? We got the 3, 5. So we only need, so there's just this one left, which I'm not sure what that is. Yellow, black. It's hard to say. We'll call it yellow black, shall we? I'm just being attacked by something. It's the back plate off the Colesborough. Yellow black, and that is 4.64 or 4.65. So there we go. There's all our readings in my terrible doctor-like handwriting. So the highest is 5 ohms. So that has sorry, the highest is 5. Hang on, let me just swap glasses again. Those are a little bit powerful for reading that. While I'm holding it under the camera, it is anyway. So let's just look. Let's review that again. So black is 117. The next one is 200 volts. That's got to be brown. 4.35. I think that's 210. Yes, 210. That's right, I remember now. So 210, 4.35. So 220 is yellow black at 4.65. That's right. 220. 230 is green. And 240 is red. That's how you find the tappings. That's far safer than powering it up and experimenting. Don't do it. Just take the readings. And that's how it's done. So we need to shrink tube off all the others but red, and we just need to use red and the white wire there. Now I've also forgot to put that, remember the red wire that was down here, I've also forgot to put that in. I've not put that in yet, so we are going to put that in as well before we do all of this. Then we're going to wire this up. You can see I've already wired live to the tip of the fuse there and tucked him away under there. We've got the power cable on. It's quite a long power cable as well. The customer will be relatively pleased with that, I think. Did have some others, but they were shorter. So we've had a bit of a route round and found that one. So I'll just show you what I have done. So we've got the, where we were testing, we've got all those heat shrinked back and sorted and neatly tucked away. The red wire is here. Obviously we've had to join onto that because they were just they've been cut short. And I've used this brown wire again to come around here and just to make things a bit discreet in here. Now I've also changed the power switch, and I found this switch, didn't like that other switch, it was a bit too close to the chassis and it was a bit cheap. So this switch, I can't remember where it came from. It's ever such a good one though, good quality, but it's a double pole single throw as well, so that was a bonus. So we changed the fuse. The neutral, the blue, is on this blue wire. You can just about see it here. That goes down to this one here, and I've tucked it all under here, so it's pretty discreet. Little new cable, but it all looks pretty good. Use the brown wire again there. You can see for this, we've put that cable on, bit of wire on there to connect those two plates in parallel. And again, I've used the brown wire, so it's yeah, it's inconspicuous. So that's all wired up now, and we're ready to power this amp up. And I've put some test tubes in it, because obviously I'm not putting the new ones in yet. Oh, and I've this goddamn gimbal, and I've soldered the ground on as well there with the 200 watt iron with the beast. So we're ready to power this up now. I've just remembered we're not quite ready to power up. So someone, when they was bodging these 6550s in, probably has changed the 27k resistor on the pot there to 12k, so we need to swap that back before we start. Right, I've got bias on each tube. We've just got it fired up. I've only got it on a 40 watt bulb at the minute, drawing 110 milliamps, and you can see up there, if we look, we've got our voltage, our DC voltage, the HT voltage, V+. So that's all looking good. So we'll go to 100 watts. And we'll put the signal generator through as well. Get that fired up. And there we go. We have sound. Let's try the vibrato channel. Ooh, we just need to clean those pots. No big deal though. That's good. All looking good. So we'll go up a bit more on the bulbs, 140 on the bulbs. That's bringing it up even more. You can hear the volume coming up now. So we'll go up a bit more with the bulbs. Right, battery went in the camera there, so we put a bit of charge in it, and we've got this up and running now. We're on a couple of 150 watt bulbs. We'll just flick off the current limiter, and you can see we've got 446 there, and we're cooking on gas. So I've got the bias turned down cold, and I've got the test tubes in, so just running a few more tests and then we should be able to put the new tubes in. So I'm just looking at this tremolo, and yeah, so you should begin to turn the speed up. Right there with that, just it is lacking a bit of swage, but yeah, but that all seems to be running. So what we'll do now is just going to check a few more voltages. We'll put the new tubes in, bias it, and then I'll clean the pots, just clean the tube sockets, and that should be it. We should be ready for putting it together. Right, we've got the new tubes out, and we've got them in the amp. Got a 100 watt bulb in the current limiter, and just going to bring these up slowly. There we go, rolling on the new tubes. But of course they need biasing. So we've got the bias turned down cold at the minute, and we'll use this meter and we'll check the volts drop across these two tubes. 0.75. So that's we need to turn the bias up. I can tell you now that's a very low bias. So somewhere I have a screwdriver for that. Right, we've got the amp biased, and I had to put that 12k resistor back in on the bias pot there. We changed it for the original spec on the schematic, but these modern tubes, maybe they just don't draw as much current as the older ones. But anyway, biased it to about 19 watts, which is about 63%, something like that. So that'll be fine for this amp, I think. I don't go too mad with it. So now the only thing we've got to look at is the tremolo, which I had a bit of a look at earlier, and it was working. Tremolo, so if we go into there, so it was working earlier. Oh, idiot, I'm in the wrong channel. Dear, oh dear. Ah, yes. Yes, wait, so... yeah, so when you flick it up like that, and then it fades back in, so... I think that's probably our capacitors there. Right, there we go, that's sounding much better now with those changed. Right, I've just tested all of these blue moulded caps and they're all absolutely spot on. There's no leakage on the board whatsoever. This thing is in great shape. So yeah, all good. Excellent. Just see that capacitor there. I thought that had gone a bit mouldy, but it's just wax on it. So I'm just going to clean that off. That'll be on the tone stack. And it's working okay. And there's no leakage on it. I've checked it. It's not. So I think we'll just wash his face. But yeah, this is in good order. Really good order. It's quiet. It's obviously been kept in a good environment. Just unplug that. It's just causing a bit of. Yeah. I know normally, as I said, I normally change the plate resistors on amps as a matter of course. But I'm absolutely not on this, because everything just looks, you just get a feel that, you know, everything just looks right in here, and I don't want to change any more on this amp than I've got to. Absolutely spot on. This is a really class machine. Now, if you watched a lot of my videos, you might remember that we had a Fender Vibrolux in, and it was heavily coated in wax, the board, and it was leaking all over the board, the DC leaking onto the grids. And it's easy on all these amps to say, oh yeah, the caps are leaking, because most people, of course, they'll put the meter onto the cap terminal, see that there's DC leaking, and of course it's not, it's leaking from the board onto the. So to try and explain that to some of you that I've probably not seen this problem before on these amps. But this capacitor here, for example, is blocking DC onto the next stage of this 12AX7. So we just turn the volume down. So what do I do? Oh, put the other lead on. So if we look here, you can see we've got 272 volts, and if we come to this side, we should see nothing, and we've got nothing on there. Now what happens on a lot of these Fender boards when they've sprayed the wax on them, this one doesn't look like it's had, if it has, it's not had much sprayed on it, but you put the probe there of the meter and you'll see leakage, and obviously that is then leaking here onto this terminal from the board. Now the leakage is coming from here. The board is all conductive, so the leakage is coming from all the points that, such as here, so that's leaking through the board because the board's conductive. So you come around here to test it, and you just get voltage. So most people think, oh well, we'll just rip the caps out. This is why you see a lot of these amps probably with these blue moulded caps removed, because they've gone across leaking. Oh, these are no good, rip them out. Well, actually that's not the case. It's often the board that's leaking. If they'd bothered to put the meter there, they would see. And in actual fact, when we cleaned the board on the other one, we tested all of the caps, and there was no leakage. So it's don't rip the blue moulded caps out, because they are seldom, and I don't know as much about Fender amps as a lot of you guys in the States. I know you can tell when you watch these videos, I don't have a massive knowledge, because I have a British amps are my thing. You know, obviously I've got a better knowledge of British amps. I don't have a great knowledge of American amps, but even I know that you know, with these boards, the blue moulded caps very, very rarely go bad. They are excellent caps, and it's a real shame when you see they've all been removed. So yeah, so always check the board. Now, going back to that Vibrolux video, we said we'd have that back in 6 months time, and it is about 6 months since we did that, just to see if that board clean had worked and whether or not. Some people said that it only lasted so long, about 6 months. So I'm going to have that amp back I'm going to give him a call and get him to drop it off at the shop, and then I'll pick it up there when I go down, and we'll bring it back and we'll test it and see if it's worked. But this one is absolutely spot on. It is. And yeah, what a lovely amp this is. Absolutely gorgeous. Just going to go through these pots and check them, and we'll be good to go. Just sorry, I'm just flicking through them. Yeah, even the pots aren't noisy. Right, we should be ready for getting this in its case pretty soon, and then of course we could look at the cabinet. Oh, there's a bit of sun shadow on there. There is just one other thing that we need to check, and that is the wires here. We need, because these wires are the same colour, we need to find out which one is ground. Because that one. Because should someone rig up another cabinet with this, if you haven't got the wires the right way round, it'll be out of phase. Right, so we've got the speaker here now, and I have to say I don't know anything about these speaker cabinets, because it's I've never seen one of these before. They're so rare. So the customer says that this has got a rattle on it. So this speaker, does anybody recognise this speaker? It is a USA speaker. Nothing I've seen before. So that's a signature speaker model. So it's a JBL. Of course it is. Signature speaker. It's a JBL. Just spotted that on there, but I couldn't filmed it for you, but I couldn't see through the camera. But now I'm having a look. So it's a JBL D104F. Yeah. It's like a very old speaker. It does. So something rattling around inside. Well, there's a washer, but I don't know whether that's been trapped behind here. Is this baffle board original? Because there's another, I don't know. Let me know in the comments, because I'm not a clue on this, I have to say. Not a clue. So we need to go around and check all of these screws, make sure none of them are loose, because obviously that would be one reason why things were rattling around. And these haven't been touched for a long time. No. And these. Ah. That's our culprit, I bet. So that's probably what's rattling in there. That should be a quick fix. Took about 4 weeks to get the screws out, mind you. 34 screws in there. When I was going around screwing them out, and I finished up, I got a handful of them and couldn't get any more in my hands. Right, then put those down and make another handful. So that looks like our problem, because this obviously, when this is turned up, my word, that'll be rattling big time. Now another thing that Jeff said in the comments, that this, he wondered whether this had been recovered, because he seemed to think that the blonde fenders were, did he say, finished around about 62, and this being a 64, 62, 63, so he expected this to be in black Tolex. But as I say, I know nothing about the history of these amps. I say British amps are my thing, but there is a serial number up here, AH2264. So is that the 22nd week of 1964? Sorry if the lighting's not great, but yeah, got that there, and I think I've got another one down there. Yep. So AH2264, is that the 22nd week of 1964? Probably is, because everything else seems to be 64. So yeah, this amp is just a little bit younger than I am, or this cabinet is. We nip that up. I've got this so I can, another long gadget, so I can do it behind the camera. And they're all loose, these, but of course we've got to be careful, because we don't want to be over tightening this and warping the basket. So, and this is probably why these have worked loose, because, you know, they probably come loose a time or two over its lifetime, but whoever's dealt with it have had the sense not to wind these up, because it just isn't good for the baskets. So, you know, that one doesn't seem to be biting very well. Customer may find that he just has to tighten these up from time to time. That one, it doesn't seem to want to go, so I'm guessing the whole thing is spinning around, and we may need, in the end, this is probably why this piece comes out, I'm guessing, so you can get to those screws, I would imagine. And we may have to. I don't really want to, but you may have to. And as you're going round now, you can see that some of these are, they've all got star washers on there. I really don't want to tighten them up much more. The one that was really loose, that's nipped up a treat, but that one, that's okay now. You can see that I'm holding the ratchet just at the end there, so I'm not at the end putting loads of leverage on them. That's usually a rule of thumb. Once you know, you just got to gauge it really. But I think that's probably about as much as we'd go with those. Just a bit concerned about that one. You can see that one just going round and round. Is there a star washer on there? And you can see that the star washers are, you can see them scratching the paint on there, so you've got to be really careful with that. Let's see what these are like. Now these, obviously these can be nipped up because they're just on a frame. I think, much as it grieves me, I think we're going to have to take this out and tighten that bolt up, because there's now more tension on the other bolts than that, and I think over time that may warp the basket. Or am I just being overzealous again with things? But you know me. So we'll ought to do this face down really. We'll get these loose first. This thing weighs a ton though. Oops. Seems crazy taking all these out for one bolt, but it's got to be right, because last thing he wants halfway through a gig is that bolt coming loose and rattling away. So we need to do it right. Right, you can see I've got it out the cabinet and I've got it face down because Pink's there getting some grub down her, and I don't want her diving into the middle of it. That would be a catastrophe. So quite easy to do really. I will just turn it over now. There's no chance of Pink jumping into it while the food's still food in the bowl. So yeah, so you can see the bolts there, so we're just going to, a little bit rusty, so we're just going to nip that one up, and then we're going to put them back in, put it back in the cabinet, tighten all the bolts up. So looking at these bolts here, we've got one that's loose, and I got the nut halfway off, and then it was all spinning round. So what I did, these pliers here, I've got no teeth on them, they're smooth. I like using these type of things, and what I did, got the glove round there and then held over the glove with the pliers, held it tight and screwed it off so it doesn't damage the threads. Tip for the day. So what we're going to do, we're going to put some grease on that so the nut goes on easier and we have less problems with it, hopefully. But first we're going to lift the speaker in, but before we do that, I'll just get inside with the hand held and you can have a look. And we just look, you can see we've got this cavity going on here. You can see my hand going in there. Just up here as well. So it's almost like it's got two baffle boards made of ply. I'll go in there. And there's some bracing in there you can see as well. Sorry this is not brilliant in here, but not the easiest thing to film inside a cabinet. Let's see if we can get how far we can get in. You might be able to see more than me now. There, so yeah. There is just one other thing that we need to check, and that is the wires here. We need, because these wires are the same colour, we need to find out which one is ground. Because that one, because should someone rig up another cabinet with this, if you haven't got the wires the right way round, it'll be out of phase. Ta-da! There we go. So it's actually been facing the wall for all the time it's been here, because we have to face the cabinets and the amps, the combos, we have to face them against the wall or face them together so Pink can't get at the grill cloth. Although she's got at my 4x12 below, but I've just left that now because it's, well, she's autographed it. So I had a bit of a think as well when I was putting that cable back, so I've actually changed it, and the reason is I've now put some, I found some 2-core live and neutral, brown and black, and obviously in this country blue is negative neutral. So I suddenly thought the customer might not have a multimeter, so I've changed the cable for him, so if he has to take the back off, it's just made it easier for him and the next guy that comes along, whatever. So I've done that as well. The cable wasn't fantastic that came out there anyway. It's 60 years old, 62 years old. So yeah, we're ready to roll. There is a few threads here in this corner, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim those and just to make that nice again. There's nothing major, but we're ready to demo this now. Give it a good demo. So yeah, that's been and you see what I mean about this. Gives you the impression it's an 18-inch speaker because of the way that cabinet's constructed, but the speaker's actually there. People from the States, they'd know full well what's in there, but obviously, as I said, these are very rare amps in this country, and this is the first one. It's definitely the first cabinet I've seen, that's for certain. So yeah, we'll get the head back on top there, because obviously that's all finished, and we'll give it a bit of a demo. Right, so got this all running together with the cabinet. And this thing sounds gorgeous. You know, not the right speaker for guitar, is it really? But well, some guitarists use 15-inch drivers. I'm not sure as Robin Ford doesn't. One of my favourite guitar players. Just the fuse conundrum as well. It had a 4 amp fuse in it when it came in, and I said that was actually too large, and it said 2.5 on the back, but this is an export model, and it doesn't give the rating for 110 volts fuse on the back. So the 4 amp that was in it was actually correct on 110 volts. I've put a 2.5 slow blow in it now. So yeah, we're all good. So let's have a look at the other channel. Very nice. Let's have a look at that tremolo. I'll get the foot switch. Not really tested this properly. Yeah, that's that's a really tasty sounding amplifier. So there we go. It's been a bit of a long project, this one, but what a beautiful amp. Just an icon of an amplifier and cabinet. And yeah, what can I say? Hopefully that sorted out all the problems for the customer. It was obvious what was causing that rattle on the cabinet, so it was a no-brainer really. So yeah, that's all good. So that'll do it for this one. So thanks for watching, and you all take care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.